and that their people can have access to it, but they don't want the AI to. And so these platforms don't really have capabilities to bifurcate or split the data. You can't go into Jira as easily and say that, when Mike is connecting through MCP, the MCP can't access these projects or these fields, that sort of thing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the DevOps Roundup. Today we got a special guest, Mike Yarrow, Mike, we've been friends for a while now. It's been a minute.
I'm going to say like 3-4 years. I don't even know where it begins.
I don't think Sean knows this story, but I would remember going to my first team in Vegas. This must have been like 23, maybe? I think it was 20. No, it was team 22. It was team 22 because in 23, that's when I actually met Becky. Because that's the last time I think I saw her was Vegas. Oh, no, it was 23. It was definitely 23. I saw her in 24 because 25 was Anaheim. So anyways, for team 23, Sean, I'm getting ready. I think my YouTube channel is starting to get some traction. And this gal, Becky, reaches out and she's like, hey, my boss would like to have lunch with or have a coffee with you. And I'm like, stranger danger. That's the only thing that pops into my head is stranger danger. And he's like, yeah, my CEO is going to be there. He wants to hang out. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll figure it out. And then I don't think anything happened, but now I'm at your offsites doing presentations.
I know. No stranger danger, fortunately, but
definitely not.
That was a funny way to meet.
So anyway, I know you're going to do a better job, right? But just some backstory, right? So you had a company that, again, very heavily involved in as an ecosystem. Then one day, I'm assuming, and I'm hoping you fill in the blanks in my mind, but you have an aha moment. And yes. You discover MCPs.
Yeah, do you want me to kind of...
Yeah, take it from there.
Oh, yeah, take it.
Yeah, I mean, I could go way back to the farm store here, but I won't. I'll be very concise with it. But effectively, we had this vision around the difficulty that people had working with enterprise software, really big picture. And what we realized was that there was this flexibility that people really need to do their work that a lot of people found in things like spreadsheets or easy to use tools like Trello. But then you've got enterprise software that has a lot of rules and fields and governance involved, and they both need to find a way to coexist. And so we invented this effectively spreadsheet with really rich bidirectional integrations, and Jira was our first and most important integration. I mean, so the integrations were so rich that effectively it would know which assignees were valid, in the spreadsheet if you had a specific ticket based on the rules in Jira. It was really, really closely linked. And that was our vision. We built this, it was growing, but then MCP popped up. And I realized that this bigger picture that we had around integrations and connectivity was very dramatically going to move from sort of, SaaS apps and even just spreadsheets to chat-based or agentic-based flows of connectivity. And here we were with this expertise around integrations. And I looked at MCP and I said, this is the future of integrations. Now I don't want to make this a part of my intro, but I could talk more about what we saw on MCP and why that was important. But I saw that the answers to a lot of problems or answers to a lot of questions that we were solving in the protocol and realized we needed to jump on that very quickly. And so we did.
And so you do, and you make MCP Manager.
That's right.
And then something magical happens.
Then it turns out that we're early in this sort of domain of building technology that makes it possible to take this fledgling protocol and actually deploy it into an enterprise with governance and compliance and logging, and it just makes it easy. I mean, it's a protocol, right? So mail, IMAP, SMTP, those are protocols, those aren't products. You generally need products to make it work. And the same thing is kind of true here, where you need products to make it work. And we were one of those sort of first ones on the market. And so I had a meeting with the CEO of Usercentrics, Donna Dror, that was, in this sort of compliance space broadly. And her vision is to, bring this company into the future of compliance in the world of AI. And this was a really important step in that direction. And we just saw this, picture of how we were stronger together. For example, we have customers today where processing PII is actually really important to them. Like, they have data in these systems like Jira or Atlassian that they want their AI to access, but then there's also data in there that they don't want the AI to have access to. And that their people can have access to it, but they don't want the AI to. And so these platforms don't really have capabilities to bifurcate or split the data. You can't go into Jira as easily and say that, when Mike is connecting through MCP, the MCP can't access these projects or these fields. That's sort of missing. And so we have this technology that we've built that effectively allows you to detect those things as like a last resort on the wire. As it's going from, let's say, Jira or Atlassian into Claude, we're right in the middle there. We're able to inspect that and say, that's personal information. We're going to redact that, or we're going to block this call. And so that's where this story becomes really powerful of now we're allowing people to make connections that they otherwise were too concerned to be able to do. We're kind of unlocking that ability to say, there's risks, but we mitigate those risks.
Yeah.
Use the connectors.
Because I feel like today in 2026, it's still like all or nothing. Either companies are 100% into AI and everybody's just wild, wild west, do what you got to do to survive, or it's no AI because we don't trust it. We can't touch it. We can't govern it. But what do you do if you're in the middle? Like, there's nothing except now we have something.
Yeah. There are a lot of companies that are kind of like, they're on one side or the other, or they're like in the middle of this transition right now where, they've rolled out Claude perhaps, but they haven't rolled out the connectors, or their ChatGPT, but not the connectors. And actually user-centrics was that. Like they didn't really have these connectors running. There was some like, cottage industry of some engineers working with the security team to approve certain ones, but it was like a very tepid way of approaching this. And, with our product, we've now gone to the ability to connect. And, I'm doing actually keeping this very much within the sort of Atlassian ecosystem. I'm looking right now on my other screen at Claude Cowork that took the transcript of my team's meetings. So I'll describe a workflow here for, folks who might not know what this could do. We no longer touch the Jira board in virtually any of our meetings other than to pull the tickets up, but we don't make changes. We say, MCPM, dash 221. What's the status? We discuss the status. And if there's any changes, we say, Claude, change it to this, change it to that, change it to this, or it's just picking up on everything. We'll talk through all of our tickets. And at the end, I throw this transcript into Claude with a connector through MCP Manager to Atlassian. And it's able to go into our Confluence page for that meeting and create a summary of what we discussed and the takeaways and the changes, and go ticket by ticket through everything we discussed. And at the minimum, it adds a comment to that ticket about what that conversation was for the day and who said what, because we're using Google Meet. So we get the transcriptions attributed to each person. It's really magical. So we'll say, Sam said this, and Becky said this, and Pat said this. It's excellent for history. And it'll move the tickets for us, update the statuses, enrich the descriptions. Like, we're moving with such a velocity that we couldn't achieve this in a meeting. Our meetings would be 3 times as long, 4 times as long if we tried to do all this in the meeting. We just wouldn't do it. So, yeah.
And one of my first observations, and Sean and I, we've been playing with anti-gravity a lot. And one of our first things was like, well, where does this put Jira? Because if I can go straight to writing the code, then why do I need the Jira tickets?
Yeah.
And so that got us kind of experimenting a little bit with anti-gravity. And Sean, remember, we ended up making we'll go to Jira and update the tickets for me.
We just give Jira or give the AI tool the personal access token, and it just does it. Now, there's benefits of using MCP instead of just using everyone loading their personal access tokens into their AI tool. What are those benefits?
Yeah. Well, let's go through the list. First of all, having those personal access tokens just sitting on your machine is a gold mine for anything that you might run on your computer that could get access to those files. That's deeply concerning. And especially when you throw into the mix the issues we've been seeing lately with the supply chain around NPM, like the Axios issues that we saw, that's deeply concerning. Or even just MCP servers that team members might discover online and install thinking they're innocuous.
Mhm.
I heard
I
about
store all mine in a folder saying not important, so no one will ever look at it.
nobody will find those. Yeah. I mean, that's for starters. I could go on there. But the other really nice thing about using MCP is that when you're going through typically these OAuth flows, you're able to select the scopes very cleanly. You're able to establish these separate connections. And then oftentimes in our product like ours, you'll be able to get that logging to understand what happened. If you're just using your personal access tokens, generally speaking, you're not getting good logs about what actually happened. And so when you use MCP in conjunction with a product like ours that sits in the middle and passes the calls through, but is able to access those logs, that's where you start getting that magic of observability, which is a really nice thing to have, both for debugging purposes. And that's kind of where we got our start when we launched MCP Manager. We were just like, we want a tool that allows us to get logs out of these things because it was really opaque at the time. These connectors were failing. We had no idea why.
Yeah, and I started playing with this. So Becky helped me set up MCP Manager.
Great.
And right away, one of the big key differences that I saw was Claude is way more powerful than Atlassian's native homegrown Robo solution. And so just asking it to do something within the tool versus asking something that's in Claude, I saw two immediate benefits. One, it's more powerful, but two, I don't have to context switch, right? And I think that was a huge part of it. It was like, I can still interact and live with my world of Jira without actually going into Jira.
Oh, yeah. It's like this sort of workflow that we just described here. Like I wouldn't be able to paste a transcript into Rovo and have it produce that level of depth.
And if you did, it would say it does not compute.
Yeah, I personally have not had the most astounding results using Rovo internally.
Nobody has.
Yeah,
you're definitely right in the middle there with us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to be very friendly. Atlassian's a partner,
Sure.
But I think we could all admit that it has not necessarily lived up.
It gets better every day, which is okay,
Yeah.
but I'm an Atlassian cheerleader, right? Sean and I were both huge cheerleaders of Atlassian.
Yeah.
It just gets a little tiring after some time. We're like, just give it time; it'll get better.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Claude can run circles around it. So yeah, you're better off just using Claude through an MCP.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really wonderful experience when it is actually.
It was really nice. And I actually went and put him head to head, and I did a video where I was like, okay, let me do the exact same prompt in both tools.
Yep.
And it was really interesting, the result that I got, because Robo was really great at like doing its thing within the world of Jira. So it was able to give me a status update. It was, after a couple of different tries, able to update statuses for me, create some stuff for me. But on the cloud side, it was able to do everything I asked it the first time, but then it got more insightful because it seems to have more memory or something. Or maybe I just use Cloud more. But it was more helpful. Like it offered like better next steps. It offered good tips that I can like proceed, as opposed to the bare bone, here, I did the thing you asked me for.
Totally. And then taking it a step further, one thing Claude can do that's a special superpower is generate these artifacts like PDFs, or even sometimes these like, HTML stylized artifacts. And so what I do is I have Claude at the end of this transcript processing job create a PDF explaining all of the Jira changes it made that I can then put into our Slack channel for the team and say, here are all the updates we discussed. And I'm looking at the one it just generated right now. And it's just so thoughtful. It has every bit of context from the transcript, and it can go look up things in Confluence too. I mean, if there's a company that's using Confluence plus Jira, I mean, it's funny, I was never really a big Confluence user. Actually, we had used Notion in the past, but our new company, Usercentrics, we've been kind of in the middle of transitioning over. And Confluence, through the MCP connector, has made me look like a hero, because I am able to like make these bulk updates, create new pages in Confluence. Like I had to set up the AI hub here as the VP of AI CIO. I'm not just running MCP Manager, but I've been involved in all of our own rollout. And I might get a question from somebody on the team, and I would send it, if I didn't have an answer in Confluence already, send it to Claude. Claude, add this to the knowledge base, write up a thoughtful description here. And so everything was getting codified. And Confluence became this sort of like the memory of Claude in a way. Even, here's another example. For this meeting processing I just described, I put all of the context about how we have our meetings and what the fields mean in a Confluence doc, so that instead of having this really long prompt, it's kind of like the prompt is in the Confluence page. And now after every meeting, it gets the transcript, it goes to this Confluence page, and I can update that easily. I can, communicate that externally to other teams across our company to say, hey, here's how we work inside Jira. And Claude gets that context. The humans can get that context. It's that sort of middle ground. And it's just
that's the same practice I do as well. But instead of Confluence, I use a GitLab markup page.
Ah, cool.
So, but it's the same concept.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, this is where it's funny. Like, Visor, what we had built, was solving a lot of the rough edges around working in a product, like the UI of something like Jira. That's why spreadsheets were wonderful, because you could just bulk, copy and paste values down. Things that would take you, 20 minutes to do in Jira are now very, very easy to do. You could arrow around. You could build these flexible views, whatever it is. But now you could just do that with Claude. And the interface problems that used to be annoying, we're just not dealing with them. So I think the value, this is kind of weird, but I think the value of Jira has kind of gone up a little bit in a way, because you get the ability to configure all these really rich workflows and rules. And now as the end user, I don't really have to deal with all of the complexity of some of the interface problems.
Let the AI do it,
Yeah, let the AI do it through MCP.
So your MCP, is it just Atlassian focused, or can I configure multiple other vendor tools inside one MCP?
Yeah, it's the latter. So what we built allows you to effectively, you have your inputs, you have all your MCP servers that you pre-configure. And for our customers, this actually ironically replaces a spreadsheet. In a lot of companies, they have a spreadsheet of what MCP servers are allowed, and then they publish that and hope their team will follow that. What we do instead is we have this place where we, allow them to connect all of their MCPs, but that they're not all exposed yet. Then they create what we call gateways. Some others in the market call them like virtual MCPs. And we effectively allow you to kind of like go on a shopping spree among those MCPs and drop in servers. And then even within those servers, select which capabilities you want. So if you wanted to create a gateway that only had read access to Confluence and give that to some type of agent, you could do that. So that would be a really nice flow. Or you could even give it access to Xero, your accounting software, or whatever. But you could throw multiple MCPs and cherry pick the tools into one gateway.
I hope I don't offend Mike, but when Becky gave me the demo, it felt to me like a MCP-based version of Zapier, right? Where you can automate a bunch of, like you connect to a bunch of different tools that are all talking through MCP, and then you go and Claude has this infinite knowledge of what it can do, and it can just talk to things.
Totally. Yeah. I don't ever mind being compared to Zapier. They've built a great product and it's an awesome team over there. But yeah, they're doing some really cool stuff around MCP as well. I mean, this just changed almost everybody's business model. Like it's hard to name an industry or a company that isn't now facing something almost existential related to MCP. Like when you think about these per seat SaaS vendors, there's definitely this energy in the market. Maybe it's not explicitly layoffs, although we're seeing that are driven by automation and AI. I'm certainly hearing about sort of like hiring freezes and some like more conservative posture. That's definitely impacting the per seat revenue of some of these companies. And MCP is sort of the way in which these employees, like that work that's getting done by agents, is now happening. And so it changes the dynamic.
There's going to have to be a market shift away from a per seat. Because I don't see how these companies survive on a per seat. Once we realize we only need one license of Jira to be able to do anything, and it's not just Atlassian; it's all these tool vendors. So they're going to have to go to a consumption thing, and if walling everything behind an MPC server is the way to measure that, and then start charging per token usage or something. That's really the only solution I see going forward. But
I don't think you can see that. You might be able to see this, Mike, on the private chat here. But have a buddy, or Sean and I have a buddy. His name's Daryl Lee. He's a data nerd. Loves to look at data and insights and stuff. And right now, as we're in this thread here, there's a deeper conversation happening about Robo and some limitations of Robo, and where Robo is going to cost more money. Remember, I'm very deep in the Atlassian world. But Daryl put this poster. It says, "Has anyone tried standing up this third-party Atlassian MCP server that is more full-featured than Robo MCP, and Atlassian can't decide to start charging for you for it at some point later?" Like, I don't. It uses API call. So, where do you see companies starting to like figure out like, oh crap, we have a leaky ship or something?
No, we're in this weird middle ground right now where I think you have, if you're one of these companies, you kind of have to deliver an MCP server.
Almost like you kind of have to have an API, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm thinking right now about changing one part of our software stack, and I went to Claude and I said, Claude, I am considering a new software in this particular spot. Find me something that has an MCP server, right? Like that's the top of my list. And if a company doesn't have an MCP server, I'm not even going to consider them anymore. From my shopping list in that category. It's that, and in fact, one of the main reasons I'm thinking leaving the current vendor is because there's no MCP support. And I want to I'll be specific about it, is our knowledge-based software. I want to be able to get off of a call with a customer, take that transcript, think about where they asked a question that's not in the knowledge base, have a meeting with my team and just talk about things, and then say, Claude, go update or add to the knowledge base to enrich it with this context. And right now that's costing us, Dimitri, my colleague, he's a PM, it's costing us his time to go do this, sometimes 30 minutes or so to update an article, really, when you think about all the end-to-end costs, sometimes maybe longer. Whereas this could be effectively like 3-minute prompt for me to just copy and paste.
How worried are you about AI slop then? Because we're so dependent on AI. Like, I can't imagine you're auditing all the outputs of all the conversations you're having with Claude.
I do. I am one of those weirdos, I think, right now, who reads basically everything and audits basically everything Claude does. I do find, like, even when I'm vibe coding, and have been, was doing so really aggressively in the fall, I would read every edit to every file and direct Claude in the architecture that I wanted. And like I would have these like really long prompts explaining it. I was still getting leverage, maybe not the same level of like input to code leverage as some folks that are really kind of hands off, but I really had a specific architecture in mind, and I didn't want Claude to make something that would be harder to maintain later. So that was in the code realm. And like in this realm here with like knowledge base, I would still read anything it produced. I just don't think it's not a mind reader, and it's not because of maybe lack of judgment or lack of intelligence. I think it might be missing context that I need to provide, and I'm just not confident that it always has that. So that's at least me. Now, talk about AI slop. One of the things that I think is really fascinating happening in large companies now is Claude, or AI in general, can make more work than people can do. And so if you say, hey, we need to go plan this out, and somebody goes to Claude and makes a plan, Claude's going to make a really robust plan without a single concern as to who's going to go do it, and then who's going to go do it. And I've been on the receiving end of some of these, like, huge documents where it's like I could tell somebody, and the style is obvious when it's generated, and I'm just like,
I have a team that I work with. They have AI in all their transcripts for all their meetings, and there's action items coming out all day long. And so he's now got like within Slack, he's got like a little bot that goes through all his transcriptions for the day and goes, okay, give me all the to-do list items that I have to do today now.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that are like, okay, you go do this, you go do this, you go do that, go do that, go take care of that. And like, it's all in a sea of noise now.
Yeah. I mean, now extrapolate this even further. And this is something that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about. Let's imagine that companies go down, to virtually just Claude runs the business, right? Like, asymptotically, we get to the point where decisions are made by Claude Claude. Actions are taken by Claude. And I'm just using Claude as the example because that's the one I love the most. But it could be any AI you choose. But then there's no alpha in the market. Everybody is using the same judgment and work engine. This becomes really fascinating when you think about what then differentiates companies.
Well, it'll be your Confluence documentation, right?
Yeah.
Sean and I came up with this idea to come up with AI mop to clean up all the AI slop.
Yeah, the domain name's too expensive though.
Yeah. We're looking for 30 grand to buy, but we figured what a business opportunity of like all these companies that are just generating AI. It's like somebody's got to come in and like be the cleaner upper and go, this is what you actually need.
I've definitely seen some advertisements somewhere, yes, LinkedIn or Reddit, where it's basically like you vibe coded it and now what, or something like that, where it's like in the code sense, like kind of like filling that market gap. But it's just fascinating. There's so much change, and I think everybody's trying to adapt and like, not get left behind. There's a ton of FOMO. But then you have some of these reports that are coming out that are showing that people just aren't getting results from it. And like, we're not seeing it in GDP and productivity numbers. And that becomes a really fascinating whole topic of like,
I've been kind of in that middle to hyper productive to what the heck are you doing side of the fence. Yeah. I haven't seen it not be less productive. I think I'm more daredevil is the word that comes to my mind. Like I'm willing to experiment more. I'm willing to try more things out because I can rapidly tell it, well, give me ideas. I go do it, and here's the result, and let's pivot, and we can do this faster.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing this in our product pipeline right now, where you used to measure 10 times cut once, like a product, like, and even the concept of agile, if we want to go there, was built around a specific way in which like the code was the really expensive thing. And now as that cost goes down, you can just ship it. It's faster sometimes to just ship the thing than even have the conversation about whether you should ship it, as long as you're willing to pull it back if it's not good. That's where the risk comes into play.
Well, as long as it's not something that's taking care of someone's health or something that's going to cause a car accident, then sure, let's just ship it.
You don't want your Tesla software to be vibe shipped.
Yeah. If the menus are green and Netflix instead of red, is that really a big deal? Yeah.
Wait, did we just invent vibe shipping?
Vibe shipping.
Forget the coding part. Just ship the thing.
Ship it. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's just so different.
I'm going to see Mike on the New York Times tomorrow night. Vibe shipping 2027.
No, totally.
All right. Well, I think we need to wrap it up here. We've got a hard deadline this week during our taping. But thanks, Mike.
We're going to have you on the Jira Life, I think, soon. And then you're going to be on my channel. So same style, same spirit. So maybe we can keep the conversation going there, Mike.
Yeah, I would love to. This was fun to chat with both of you guys. Always a pleasure, and love what you do.
Yeah, we'll link the MCP Manager down below. Definitely check it out. I've been, again, playing with it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I think it's one of those tools where, especially for companies and you're kind of on the fence, you're not really sure what to do, this gives you a little bit more governance. It gives you a little bit more peace of mind. It gives you a little bit more control without needing to use the C word, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I could just get one blip in here, I call it like this bounded freedom, right? Like you are able to go from, okay, we have no idea what's possible, so people don't do anything because they're afraid, to here is where you can operate safely, have fun, run, experiment, try. And that is what needs to happen, and that's what we deliver. We make it easy, we make it bounded, therefore people can go faster.
Yeah, and if you get in trouble, you can always pull back a lot easier than to remove APIs from people. Like, it's a nightmare.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Thank you for the shout.
Yeah, thank you. Make sure you subscribe, drop a like, check out that link down below, and we'll see you in next week's episode. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.